In this video, we will talk about how to use the simple interest formula. So here's the formula. I is equal to P times R times T, where I is the interest, so the total interest earned. P is the principal, which is the starting amount of money. R is the rate, or the interest rate, and T is the total time. So let's check out a few examples of how we can use this formula. All right, this example says find the simple interest earned after 6 years on $1,300 at an interest rate of 5%. So we want to find the simple interest. So we're going to use this simple interest formula. So what we can say is I, the interest, is equal to P, that's the principal, that's the starting amount of money, which we can see is $1,300. So let's write 1,300. We're going to multiply that with R, the interest rate, which we're told is 5%. Now I'm going to write this as a decimal, so I'm going to write 0.05. So that's the interest rate, and then we're multiplying it by T, the total time. So the time we're told is 6 years. So we'll say times 6. So when you multiply 1,300 times 0.05 times 6, you get 390. And remember, we're talking about dollars, so we'll say $390. That's our final answer. That's how much interest you earned after 6 years when the principal, or the starting amount, is $1,300 and the interest rate is 5%. All right, let's try another question. This one says, find the simple interest earned after 6 months on $5,400 at an interest rate of 3.5%. So again, we're trying to find the simple interest. So what we can say is I is equal to P, the principal. So what did we start with? We started with 5,400. So let's write that. 5,400. We're multiplying that with R, the interest rate. So we're told that's an interest rate of 3.5%. So as a decimal, that's 0.035. And then we're multiplying that by T, the time. It tells us that the time is months. So in this formula, when we're talking about time, we're usually using years. So we need to convert 6 months to years. So there are 12 months in a year. So if we have 6 months and we divide that by 12 total months, what can we reduce 6 divided by 12 to? Well, that's the same as 1/2. Or in other words, 6 months is really equal to 1/2 of a year. Or written as a decimal, that would just be 0.5. So what we can write right here for the time is 0.5 years. So whenever you're given months like this, you can just convert it to years by dividing by 12. So for example, if we instead had 3 months, that would be 3 divided by 12, which could be reduced to 1/4. And as a decimal, that's 0.25. So whenever you're given months, you can just convert it to years by dividing by 12. So for this one, our final answer is going to be 5,400 times 0.035 times 0.5, which turns out to be 94.5. Now remember, we're talking about dollars, so we can say, let's put a dollar sign out front, and we can also put an extra 0 out here to indicate 50 cents instead of just 0.5. So our final answer is $94.50. That's the total simple interest earned based on these numbers. All right, let's try another question. This one says, Andy invested $4,000 in a bond at a yearly interest rate of 4.5%. He earned $540 in interest. How long was the money invested? So this question is a little bit different. They're asking, how long was the money invested? In other words, what is the time, the total time of the bond? So we want to solve for T. So if we have our formula, I is equal to P times R times T. In this example, we're told the total interest. We're told he earned $540. So what we can write is 540 is equal to P, what was the principal amount, or what was the starting amount? Well, that's 4,000. So let's write that, 4,000, times R, the interest rate, which we're told is 4.5%. So as a decimal, that's 0.045. And then times T, the total time. Well, in this one, we don't know the total time. That's what we're trying to figure out. So we'll just say T. So now we're trying to solve for T. Or in other words, we're trying to get T by itself. So if we multiply 4,000 by 0.045, this turns out to be 180. So we have 180 times T, and that's equal to 540. So to solve for t, or to get t by itself, we can divide both sides by 180. So just a little algebra. So on this right-hand side, these 180s cancel out, and we're left with t is equal to 540 divided by 180. That turns out to be 3. And remember, the units we're talking about are years. So we can say 3 years. So that's our final answer. That is how long the $4,000 must have been invested. All right, let's try one more problem. This one says, find the interest rate if a principal of $5,000 earned $1,200 in interest in 4 years. So this one's a little different also. It says find the interest rate, the rate R. So we're trying to find R in this formula. So if we write I is equal to PRT, let's fill in the numbers that we know. The interest, so the total interest earned, it says it earned $1,200. So let's fill that in for I, 1,200, is equal to P, so that's the principal, the starting amount. We're told that's 5,000, so let's write that, times R, the interest rate. We don't know R, we're trying to figure that out. So let's say times R, and then times T, the total time, which we're told is 4 years. So we'll say 4. So in this case, we're trying to solve for R. We're trying to figure out what is the interest rate. So what we can write is 1,200 is equal to 5,000 times 4, that would be 20,000. So we can say 20,000 times R. So remember, we're trying to solve for R. We're trying to get R by itself. So to do that, we can divide both sides by 20,000. So we'll do that. Now on this right-hand side, these 20,000s cancel out, and we're left with R is equal to 1,200 divided by 20,000. That turns out to be 0.06. Or if we wanted to write our final answer as a percentage, we could convert that to a percentage by moving the decimal place 2 places to the right, which is the same as multiplying by 100. So the decimal would be right here, and that would be 6 point nothing after that. So that would just be 6% is equal to R. So the interest rate is 6%. That's what the interest rate must have been if a principal of 5,000 earned this much in simple interest over the course of 4 years.